When you look up the ugliest city in the world, one name keeps coming up. Charleroi. But what makes this place so ugly? To find out, I went there myself. At first glance, Charleroi seems like an ordinary city. With more than 200,000 inhabitants, known as the Carlo, Charleroi is the largest city in Wallonia and the fourth largest in Belgium. Buildings such as the St. Christopher's Church, Passage de la Bourse, and the Belfry of Charleroi hardly make Charleroi look like the ugliest city in the world, yet just a few meters further, the scene changes drastically. Ugly, empty, and burned down buildings litter a gigantic industrial area right next to the city centre and a large number of abandoned places. It is especially these abandoned places that made Charleroi famous as the so-called ugliest city in the world. These abandoned places also tell the story of today's Charleroi. This story begins after the independence of Belgium. With the rise of coal mining and the flourishing steel industry, the region gained the nickname Le Pays Noir, or the Black Country, because of its coal mines, and turned into one of the most industrialized regions in the world. Migrants from Flanders and Italy flocked to the city, attracted by work and prosperity. Today the nickname the Black Country remains, but coal mines like Charbonage-de-Gouffre are long gone. Technological advancements and a decrease in coal use caused this coal mine to be the last one in the region, closing its doors in 1969. The mine, which once produced 145,000 tons of coal annually, is now in ruins. Just 2 kilometers away from the city centre, you can also find remnants of these mines at Le Charbonnage-de-Péchon. These headframes were used to transport miners and materials 1,200 meters into the depths. In this mine alone, 16 miners lost their lives during mining accidents in 1952 and 1972. I'm not going down 1,200 meters. Instead, I climbed a 60-meter high headframe. The hills surrounding the city aren't just ordinary hills. These are actually remains of stone waste separated from the coal. In time, these sturdy slag heaps, also called terrils, were consumed by nature. Paths were built, allowing people to climb these hills so they could serve as hiking trails, nature reserves, and observation platforms. The tram runs on one of the 4 operational Metro Léger lines of the 8 that were originally planned. One of these lines is the famous ghost metro of Châtelet. I walked the 7 kilometers of the abandoned tracks, and I saw this nearly completed metro line was abandoned due to political reasons, namely the abolishment of the waffle iron policy, where Wallonia always received what Flanders got, and vice versa. And because Flanders needed a coastal tram, Charleroi received plans for the largest metro system in the entire Benelux region. When this waffle iron policy was abolished, the project was left to the Walloon government, which quickly realized that this was far too ambitious for a city like Charleroi and immediately withdrew. Yet it won't remain abandoned forever, as renovation works are now underway to finally open this line after 50 years and help reduce car usage in and around the city. It turns out there is finally some progress in the recovery of the city. Residents of Avenue de Philippeville also received good news in 2022 that after 25 years, the house of pedophile and murderer Marc Dutroux was finally demolished. Now, the site has been transformed into a memorial for his victims and all victims of pedophilia. Despite its scandals, the political reforms, and the closure of the coal mines, Charleroi remained a prosperous city until the early 1980s, thanks to its steel industry. This metal structure is perhaps one of the most notable sites of the city. This was Blast Furnace 4, or Hoofdfurnace 4. Similar to Blast Furnace B I visited in Liège, the furnace was once owned by Crocodile Sambre and later acquired by ArcelorMittal. Iron ore and coke were smelted here, producing up to 6,000 tons of cast iron daily. I also visited and climbed the structure. Inside, I found a control room from which this blast furnace was once operated. The decline of the steel industry marked the end of Charleroi industrial and prosperous era and the beginning of a new era marked by unemployment and poverty. In 2025, Charleroi is one of the poorest cities in the country. The more poverty there is, the fewer people who can afford to pay for waste disposal. This has led to a massive increase in littering throughout the city and region. the money and jobs disappeared, more and more places were abandoned. Swimming pool and theatre, Piscine Solvay, was no longer able to cover its costs. Remise Monceau was once a maintenance station for wagons and locomotives. On the outside, there's still one wagon left of the many that once stood here. Stade Velodrome de Julie was the only professional cycling track in Wallonia in the 2000s. This tent was installed for the Euro 2000 Championship at Stade Pays de Charleroi. Games such as England vs Germany were once played here in front of this stand. After the championship, this tent was disassembled because it was too tall for the nearby residences, and it was moved to the Velodrome, which was abandoned in 2015. Perhaps an even more recognizable site is the Central Monceau, a former power station with its 57-meter high cooling tower on the other side of the Sambre. This plant was the main power station in the region and was responsible for as much as 10% of all of Belgium's carbon dioxide emissions. This led to a protest from Greenpeace, and not long after, the plant was permanently shut down. To view the cooling tower from the inside, you have to climb the structure. And even in a remote place like this, unusual waste can still be found. These were just some of the many abandoned places Charleroi has seen. In recent years, many of these sites have already been demolished, and there will likely be more to follow. While it's certainly an unattractive city, I doubt it really deserves the title of the ugliest city in the world. It still has its own unique charm, but it also faces significant struggles and a dark past. Maybe one day Charleroi will become a beautiful and prosperous city again, or perhaps it will continue to struggle with poverty and decay forever. Only time will tell what the future holds for Charleroi.